All right, so the little project we're doing today is called a blacksmith's diamond. At least that's what blacksmiths call it. If I'm remembering correctly, the geometric labels are, this is a type of tetradecahedron, which is a 14-sided shape. Not all 14-sided shapes look the same. The type that this is a cuboctahedron. So it is a cube with 8 sides added by knocking the 8 corners in. And we're going to make this 2 different ways. The first way is, like this, as this one is, we're going to wrap a collar of material around and then forge weld it in place and shape it into the cuboctahedron. And then we'll make another one where we use smaller stock and we just upset the material to create the cube. So I've got a piece of material here. It's hot, so I'm not going to pick it up. This is 1/2-inch rod for a curtain rod, and so my collar material, I've used 1/2-inch square, and I've flattened it till it's about a little over 5/8 wide and probably 3/8 of an inch thick. So we're gonna wrap that around a mandrel and cut it off to make our collar. So a little preparatory step here is I'm going to take my curtain rod material and I'm going to just slightly chamfer the end here, and that'll make it easy to get the ring on once it's made. So just slightly chamfered that. So now my metal is hot, and you can see it has one beveled end. I'm going to start my curl real tight as I can on that beveled end. I'm going to curl it, draw it toward myself. I really want that curl to be pretty tight. Oh yeah, that's looking good. Maybe a little tight, but that's okay. All right, that's a little tight, so I'm going to open it up with a drift, which is just a pin of a certain size with a taper on each end. This is a 1/2-inch drift. There we are. I'll knock it out. Now, most folks will tell you, and they're not wrong, that it's best to start with the rod heated and the collar not as hot, so that when you bring this up to forge welding temperature, you're more sure of getting a good thorough heat all the way through the cross section. But I find it much easier to get a nice tight fit with the collar, with it hotter so that it shrinks on. And I don't have any trouble getting a good welding heat as long as I'm careful to let it soak in the fire long enough that it gets heated evenly all the way through. So the next step is to heat it in the fire, get it hot enough to melt flux. We'll flux it, and then we'll bring it to welding heat and weld it. So one more thing. Because of the shape of this, in order to get a really good weld, if I were to try to weld it, hammer it on this side first, then it would kind of squish around and potentially not weld solidly. So I'm going to hammer this way first and work the weld around, and that way it'll be even and tight. And anyway, we'll get a better weld. It's kind of hard to describe, but back in the fire. So for flux, usually I would use borax, just plain old borax, but I'm out. So I'm going to use Iron Mountain forge welding flux. I don't get paid to plug them, but it is great stuff. If some's good, more's better. Yeah. Now to get a thorough welding heat, we will bring the whole thing to the point that it is just starting to make a couple of sparks, and the surface looks really wet and runny. It got off crooked on me. Oh. Alright, so this step, which I usually do anyway, will fix the crookedness. All right, just a little bit more heat. We're going to put it back in the vise and just clean this up gently. And then it'll be ready for the decorations. All right, Alan, I'm almost ready for you. Come on in and get ready. Let's pick out the punches we're going to use. We're going to use that one and this one. All right, we're going to take another heat, and then I'll get you to strike on the others. Hit. Hit. Hit as hard as you can, okay? Hit. That wasn't your fault. I'm not sure what was going on there. Okay, hit again. That was your shaky old dad. All right. Ready?
Yep.
Hit. Good job. Hit. 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 Let's hit this one again. again. Hit. I like it. And there we are. So, you obviously don't have to do extra decoration on a blacksmith's diamond, but that's what I wanted to do on this one. What do you think, Alan?
That looks pretty good.
So now I'm going to show them how to make a small blacksmith's diamond without forge welding. Alright, so I'm going to use this piece of 1" by 1/4, which I know seems kind of weird, but I have a style of hook that I like to make, and I'm actually trying to build up inventory for a show next month. It's going to be the Made South Market, Holiday Market in Franklin, Tennessee. Look it up. Come see me. So I got a style of hook that I like to make that has a blacksmith's diamond finial on the end of the hook. You know what? I don't want 1" by 1/4. I want 3/4 by 1/4. So let me see if I have a piece of that. I know I do. I just have to find it. Let's see. We got a bunch of it over here. Yeah, there we go. I like making hooks out of flat bar and completely changing the cross section. I really like making things where there's no factory stock left. Curtain rods don't really matter much to me because only the finial will be seen anyway. So for this particular style of hook, I'm going to take about 4 inches of material. I know that's how wide my anvil is, and I'm going to work it down square. So that gives me a cross section of about 3/8 of an inch square. I'm not going to finish the hook, I'm just going to make my blacksmith's diamond. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a shoulder here and leave myself about 1.25 inches of this stock on the end to make our finial. Alright, so this is, got to be real careful with this. There's my rough shoulder. I'm going to draw a bit of a taper here. So I'm going to go from square to octagon. I'm going to go back for a little more heat. That is not as clean as I would like it to be. So the trick with this is to go a little bit at a time and dress it frequently. All right, getting real close to having our cube. I'm going to take some more heat. So the cube is a little bit off center on the stem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to carefully knock it over, but I need to do this at a very high heat because whenever you're forging whenever you're forging has a thick piece and a thin piece connected to each other, that transition wants to crack if you're not careful. So we're going to try to avoid that. But I'm going to, like I said, work it at a very high heat, very light blows, and that just knocked it right back over where we need it. So we're going to go to the vise for one more upsetting. Turn it 90 degrees and continue. Now we have a fairly clean shoulder all the way around. We're going to go ahead and start knocking these corners in. But there we are. And I'll just bend this part into the hook and spread a piece of this out into the bolster or cusp. So there's how you make a blacksmith's diamond 2 different ways. One is forge welded and one is upset.